What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of MUT Tips. I'm your host, Sean Taylor from the Made Up Theater. Before we jump in again, like the video down below, comment with somebody you would like addressed in a future video, and as always, subscribe on YouTube down below to be informed of upcoming videos and live streams. Ring that bell. But let's jump into today's topic, recognizing emotions. I've said this in previous videos before, emotions is your secret weapon in any improvised scene. If you ever feel stuck or you don't know what to say next, a lot of times recognizing an emotion or feeling an emotion is an immediate way to revive the scene. In fact, if you want to define a scene with a mathematical equation, let's do that. Relationship plus environment plus activity multiplied by the emotion equals the scene. Because it's not just being in a relationship with characters, doing something in a location. By feeling something in that location, doing that thing with these people, that creates the interesting part of the scene a lot of the times. But sometimes people can play emotions a little too subtle or too coy, where they are not actually making a strong emotional choice because they're almost keeping it like secret. And we don't want to treat emotions secretively, we want to embrace them and approach them so that they actually do become a part of the scene. Just like in my last video about response, I want to focus a little bit on responding to an emotional choice that is nonverbal, a look, if you will. This is an activity I'll do in this video, but you can also do it with your group or with one other person. It's about recognizing emotions that our partners are conveying with their body language and, most importantly, with their facial expressions. Before we jump in, though, let's recognize and classify some emotions. I think we're all pretty familiar with what are more the core four emotions of improv, and in life too, right? There's happiness, there's anger, there's fear, there's sadness. I think these are the four that we stress a lot in improv, but there's so much more. It's not just those four, and there's subsets of these four core emotions that I want to get into. Let's look at anger, for example. Anger is a very common emotion in a lot of improv scenes that I've seen, but it's also very prevalent in comedy too, like sitcoms. There's usually moments within sitcoms where anger is a prevailing, emotion that is taking over the characters. And like, for example, Everybody Loves Raymond. That's a sitcom where pretty much every episode has a fight in it. And hey, it works, right? That's why that show ran on for so many seasons. It was a formula that was successful. A lot of people think anger is funny because a lot of times we don't express our anger, in situations because, it might be rude or it might not be something that's appealing for us to do. Like we might be ashamed of doing it. But in comedy, hey, it's scripted or improvised, then why not? Let's do it. So instead of anger, maybe you look at rage. Rage is like level 10 anger, right? There's no barriers, no filters. You're letting it all out. You're speaking your mind and you're using your environment, your words to express how you truly feel. But there's other types of anger too. Like maybe you look at frustrated, okay? Frustrated is an interesting anger because it's kind of like more internalized sometimes. Like, I can't solve this. Oh God, and it's a little bit maybe sometimes lower in anger in terms of like the range, but very much on the inside it's higher, because we're frustrated a lot of times with ourselves. We could be frustrated with others, but I feel like frustration comes more in the form of just being frustrated internally. And another type of an emotion connected to anger, but also being influenced by other types of emotions is like disappointed, being disappointed in like a child for doing drugs. There's anger in that, right? But there's also sadness. Like, oh my gosh, like you could overdose one day, or fear, fear of someone like, maybe going to prison because of doing some drugs or getting involved with bad people. That's where disappointment comes. It's a hybrid. So notice this. And in fact, I'm going to include a list down below to check out just a list of different emotions. There's so many. So maybe read through it and just recognize some emotions. Be like, hey, you know what? I haven't done a scene about that type of an emotion before. Or hey, I don't know what that emotion means. I'll go look it up on, Google. Now let's get to the exercise. The way this will work is you're gonna look down or close your eyes, and at some point you're gonna hear a ding. And when you hear that, you're gonna open your eyes or look up at me, and I'm going to have a facial expression, some body language, and I'm gonna be in it for about 5 seconds. And then you're at some point within those 5 seconds gonna say, you look blank, you look disappointed, you look optimistic, whatever it is that you feel in your heart based on what you see. You don't have to rush it. It's not like a speed round game. Sometimes I say, take your time. Maybe like really pay attention and just take in everything that you're getting from your scene partner, me in this case. And say it with confidence, baby, because if you say, you look frustrated, that is showing that you're not sure, okay? And you need to just make a bold choice and just spit out what you think it is, even if maybe you're not 100% sure. But you look frustrated. Like, that's bold. That's not showing confusion. We don't want to be confused when we're dealing with emotions. We want to get to the point. All right, let's jump in. Look down or close your eyes. When you hear the ding, open your eyes or look up and go ahead and name what you see by saying you look. Awesome, how was that? Again, this is a game that you can play with another person, just go back and forth, or, if you're facilitating a class, just get everybody in pairs and have them trade off. One person looks down, the other person does an emotion, maybe do a ding or say look up, whatever you want to do. This is a game that is great for recognizing choices that sometimes we do not recognize ourselves as choices or gifts. That's the thing. Emotions are gifts in scene because they define things, and we want to define the unknown. And that concludes this episode of MUT Tips, everybody. Thanks so much for checking it out. Again, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll check you out next time for another episode of MUT Tips. Bye!